Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this on my phone. So I just had the best day. So I just wanted to share with you because I'm feeling like it was a good metaphor for a lot of the experiences that we face in our life. So my day started out pretty catastrophic. I got an email from my former partner saying that she did not want to be in contact with me right now, which was pretty devastating. And so I was feeling pretty upset, but I had planned to go for a hike today since I had just finished with my book draft and had been pretty chained to my computer working around the clock for the last number of days. And so I headed out on my hike, and so I was brooding a little bit on the hike, but as I was coming back, then I was hurrying back to the car because I had a FaceTime meeting with somebody to talk about another book project. And so I found myself rushing, and then rather than rushing and kind of fighting against life, then I thought, why am I rushing to get home? Because I have cell service out here, and I may as well just sit on a rock on this creek and just have my meeting here. So I had a really amazing meeting just out in the woods, which was really fantastic, and I just got to enjoy my surroundings. And my old self would have, hurry, gotta get home, struggle, fight against life, create a lot of stress and strife around it. So when I was leaving from my meeting, then it started to rain, and I was like, oh gosh, okay. I still had quite a ways to get back to the car, and it started to rain actually really hard, and there was like a ton of thunder, and like I kind of looked up in the sky, and it was lightning, and it was blinding me, and I was like, oh wow, okay, not only is this a lot of rain, but also could be perhaps a little dangerous. I had a little fear, and so conventional wisdom is kind of like, got to get to the car, got to get home, that's safety. And so my old self would have probably tried to make a run for the car to kind of get through the rain before the worst of it hit, because my phone said that it was supposed to rain for about 4 hours. And I would have got soaked, and would have been feeling really unhappy most of the journey in my rush to get back to the car and be all wet, and probably would have felt really crabby and very victimized, and that probably would have been the story of my day. I was like, I was trying to have this great hike, and I ended up getting rained on, and my whole day got ruined, and that would have very much been old me, who spent a lot of my time struggling against life and feeling victimized. And so instead, I just paused and I decided to listen. And so I listened within, and I was just feeling like, the path of rushing to the car just does not feel like the right path. It does not feel like what myself is needing. And so I also decided to step out of my mind and my problem-solving mode, and to look around at my surroundings and just kind of assess things. And so I was under some trees, and I was like, okay, this is probably not such a bad place to be for a storm. And I was starting to get a little wet and started to feel a little annoyed, and so I was like, well, let me look around, and I use my shamanic training and pay attention to what the world around me is wanting me to notice. And so I started to notice, okay, where's the ground not seem actually wet? And there were spots I didn't know why. It was all under the same trees. Why were these spots not wet? And so I stood there for a while and was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And noticed there's a whole spot, there's a very small overhang in the rock. And so I was like, okay, well, let me sit under there, and the rock will protect me. And so rather than feeling like, oh, life is against me, some of the victim consciousness that we're talking about, I was like, okay, how is life actually wanting to support me right now? And so I tucked myself up under this little tiny rock overhang and felt the support of the rock, and was largely rain-free, and got to watch this most incredible storm. It started hailing. It was really, really spectacular. And so it was just a really special moment, and rather than feeling victimized, I was like, this was really the high point of my day. It really took me back to some of my experiences at women's festivals that are really cherished to me, and music festivals, and my shamanic training, and just feeling really connected with the earth, and really safe and protected, and really in my natural self, instead of in my mind and, my human personality operating in the world zone that oftentimes is more stressful. And so I hung out there for a bit after the storm just to enjoy the post-storm feeling, the feeling of the air being cleansed and the smell and just the solitude, because of course nobody else was around because everybody else took off. They had the good sense to not come out when they saw it was going to rain, but they had certainly cleared out when the storm had happened. And so eventually I was like, okay, it feels like the right time to head back. And so I got a little disoriented because of the storm and might taking the time out. And so I ended up on the quote-unquote wrong trail. And it was a different trail than I had come in on. And so as I was walking, I started to be like, uh-oh, this doesn't seem familiar, and, I don't know where this trail goes, and all the usual conventional wisdom about, like, okay, familiarity equals safety, and uncharted territory is dangerous and suspicious, shouldn't do that. And so once I started paying attention to my surroundings, then I noticed, actually, this trail is really amazing. Like, this trail is actually way better than the trail that I came in on, and had really just incredible, spectacular views over the whole canyon. And I was just like taking pictures on my phone the whole time because I was like, this is just so incredible and spectacular. And I would have missed it if I turned around and went back to the familiar trail because I got scared that I didn't know where this trail was going. And so was having a really fantastic time there, and then eventually got to a crossroads in the trail, and there was a little sign, so I was trying to figure out, okay, which way do I go to get back to my car? And, the trail, I figured, I could be on the main trail, but this is a trail that connects Boulder to a neighboring town, and so I've taken this trail before in its whole stretch, which is about 4 hours, and so given, the amount of darkness that was approaching, and my phone was running down, and I definitely did not want to get going in the wrong direction, and I just wasn't quite sure. So again, I paused and kind of listened within. Which way did I feel like I was being led to go? And let me trust that. And so I moved in that direction. And so I was also, just enjoying the time and not stressing about it too much. But as it started getting darker, then I thought, okay, I should really perhaps make sure that I'm actually heading towards the car. And I was starting to get a little panicked. And so I was starting to figure out, okay, what can I do? And so right up ahead, then I noticed there was a guy who was jogging, and he was like coming right towards me. And so I was like, oh, cool. So let me just ask this guy. And so I asked him, is this the right direction that I'm going in? He assured me that it was. And so I was like, phew, okay, I can just relax now because I know I'm going in the quote unquote right direction. And about 2 minutes after I passed him, I was, reassuring myself, like, oh, there's always signs. If you trust and you really want direction, then life will always offer you signs that you're on the right path. And just beyond where I ran into the guy, then I actually encountered the trailhead where I had gone up on my original trail. And so I was like, as usual, just before I was there to get my confirmation sign, then I got a panic, and then I got another sign anyhow. So there was many, many lessons in my experience today. And so it got me thinking about, how do we turn around adversity? Because today could have been a whole different story. The way that my day started, I could have allowed that to ruin my whole day. And any of the experiences along the way that ended up being some of the best experiences of my day, I could have missed. And I could have told a different story about it, how things had gone wrong. And so it just prompted me to reflect on, it is the frame that we put around our experiences that really determine what we take away from our experiences. And so it just felt like it was a real difference between how my old self would have responded, how conventional wisdom would have responded, and how my new self is responding, and just a totally different outcome. And so this is really the nature of the paradigm shift. It's like how you think about things. And that is really my specialty. And so if you find yourself struggling a lot with life and kind of operating under conventional wisdom, and it's not working for you and you're looking for some other tools, then reach out, and I can share with you some of the ways that life makes sense to me, and some ways that I've found of dealing with some of the challenges of life in different ways that allow you to have a different kind of experience with it. So my phone is definitely about to go dead, so and it's about dark. So I'm going to go ahead and get off. But thanks for being here, and I hope you have a great evening, and I will talk to you again soon.